I'm 94 years old, and 3 months ago, my doctor sat across from me, held my hand, and told me I have about 12 weeks left, maybe less. And you know what surprised me? It wasn't fear. It wasn't sadness. It was clarity. A kind of brutal, beautiful clarity that cut through everything I'd been telling myself for 9 decades. So I'm going to share with you what I wish I had done differently. Not because I want your pity, but because you still have time. And time, my friend, is the only currency that matters. My name is Harold Bennett. I spent 41 years as a high school history teacher in a small town in Ohio. I married my wife Dorothy in 1956, and she passed 7 years ago. We had 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren I've only met through video calls because they live in Seattle and I haven't been able to travel. I'm telling you this because I want you to know I'm not speaking from some ivory tower. I lived a regular life, a good life in many ways. But when you're staring at the end, you see every crack in the foundation you thought was solid. Let me take you back to a Tuesday evening in 1978. I remember it was Tuesday because that was the night I always stayed late grading papers. My son Michael, he was 12 then, came into my study. He stood there in the doorway holding a baseball glove. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there. And I looked up from my papers annoyed and said, "What is it, Michael? I'm busy." He asked if I could play catch with him, just for a few minutes. And I said no. I said I had work to do. I said maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. Not that week. Not that month. Not that year. Michael is 60 now. We talk on the phone sometimes, but there's a distance between us that I built, brick by brick, with every not now and every maybe later. That distance started in that doorway. I wish I had put down those papers. I wish I had understood that those papers meant nothing, that they would be forgotten by everyone, including me. But that moment with my son could have meant everything. Here's what I wish I had done differently. First, I wish I had stopped waiting to live. I spent so much of my life preparing for some future moment that never arrived. I saved money for retirement, and when retirement came, I saved it for emergencies. The emergencies came, but not the ones I expected. Dorothy got sick. The money went to hospitals and medications, and a system that takes everything and gives back so little. And all those trips we were going to take, all those places we were going to see, they stayed in brochures that yellowed in a drawer. We were going to go to Italy. Dorothy always wanted to see Florence. She used to show me pictures in magazines, pointing at the Duomo, saying, "Someday, Harold, someday." Someday became never. She died having never seen it. Don't wait. Whatever it is you're waiting for, stop. The permission you're seeking, give it to yourself. The perfect moment doesn't exist. There's only now, and now is already slipping away. Second, I wish I had said the things that mattered while people were still here to hear them. My father and I had a complicated relationship. He was a hard man, a product of the Depression, and he didn't know how to show love except through criticism. He thought he was preparing me for a hard world. Maybe he was, but I grew up thinking I was never good enough. And I carried that into my own parenting, passing it down like some terrible inheritance. My father died in 1983. I was at his bedside in the hospital. He was drifting in and out of consciousness, and I sat there for hours, trying to work up the courage to say something, to say I loved him, to say I forgave him, to say I understood he did his best with what he knew. But I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat like stones. And then he was gone. And I've carried those unspoken words for 40 years. They're heavier than you can imagine. If there's someone you need to say something to, say it today. Call them. Write them. Show up at their door. Pride is a small thing compared to regret. Third, I wish I had worried less about what people thought of me. I spent decades trying to be respectable, trying to fit into what a man was supposed to be, what a husband was supposed to be, what a teacher was supposed to be. I held back tears because men didn't cry. I didn't pursue dreams because they weren't practical. I stayed in situations that made me miserable because leaving would have caused talk. And now at 94, you know what I realize? No one was watching as closely as I thought. Everyone else was too busy worrying about what I thought of them. We're all performing for an audience that isn't paying attention. The only person who truly sees your whole life is you. Live in a way that you can respect, not in a way designed to impress people who won't remember you anyway. Fourth, I wish I had taken better care of this body. I know, it sounds simple, but I treated my body like it was invincible, like it would just keep working no matter what I put it through. The cigarettes I smoked for 30 years, the meals I ate standing over the sink because I was too busy to sit down, the walks I didn't take, the checkups I skipped, the sleep I sacrificed for work that didn't matter. This body was the only home I was ever going to have, and I treated it like a rental, and now it's failing, and there's no getting it back. You're young enough to change. Please, I'm begging you, take care of yourself. Not for vanity, for the chance to be present for the moments that matter. And here's what I wish I understood most of all. But first, let me tell you about the last conversation I had with Dorothy. It was 3 days before she died. She was in the hospital bed we'd set up in our living room because she wanted to see the garden through the window. She was so thin by then, so fragile, but her eyes were still sharp. She looked at me and said, "Harold, we were happy, weren't we?" And I said, "Yes, we were happy." But later that night, lying in bed alone, I thought about all the times I could have made her happier. The compliments I swallowed. The dances I said no to because I felt foolish. The trips I postponed. The arguments I started over things that meant nothing. We were happy, yes, but we could have been happier. and the only thing standing in the way was me, my fear, my pride, my foolish belief that there would always be more time. The thing I wish I understood is this: love is not a feeling. Love is showing up. It's being present when you'd rather be distracted. It's choosing discomfort for the sake of connection. It's saying yes when every part of you wants to retreat into yourself. I spent too much of my life loving people in my head without ever showing them with my actions. And now, in these final weeks, the only comfort I have is the moments when I did show up. The Christmas I drove through a blizzard to see my daughter. The afternoon I spent teaching my grandson to fish, even though my back was screaming. The last time I danced with Dorothy in our kitchen, just the two of us. No music playing, just swaying together in the quiet. I'm not afraid of dying. I've had 94 years, more than most get. What haunts me is the life I could have lived if I hadn't been so afraid of living it. The risks I didn't take, the words I didn't say, the moments I let slip through my fingers because I thought they would come back around. So here's what I want to tell you. You're going to die. I know that sounds harsh, but you're going to die, and probably sooner than you think. Not to scare you, to wake you up. Because when you truly understand that your time is limited, everything changes. The petty arguments stop mattering. The grudges dissolve. The things you've been putting off become urgent. Stop living like you have forever. You don't. Tell me in the comments what you're going to do differently. What you've been putting off. What words you've been afraid to say. I read every single comment. At my age, sleep doesn't come easy. And in those long hours, I read what people share. It reminds me that connection is possible. Even now, even at the end. It makes this quiet house feel less empty. If anything I've said touched something in you, subscribe. Not for me. I won't be here much longer. But for yourself. Do it for the person you'll be in 20 years, so they don't have to learn these lessons the hard way like I did. And if there's someone in your life who needs to hear this, someone who's sleepwalking through their days, someone who's putting off living, share this with them. It might be the wake-up call they need, before it's too late. Before their doctor sits them down and tells them what my doctor told me. I don't have many tomorrows left, but you do. And what you do with them, that's the only thing that matters. This is Harold Bennett, signing off from a small house in Ohio, looking out the window at a sky that's never looked more beautiful. Go live. Really live, while you still can.